Hello lovely people. This week I am back with another tag video. I am doing the Art in Books tag.
Save your vlogs.
I was tagged by the very lovely Miriam over at Between Lines and Life, but the tag is originally by Alessandra and Megan over at Brushing Bookends. I highly recommend you check both channels out, and I will leave links in the description below. As for me, I'm going to dive in, I'm going to answer these questions because this is such an interesting tag. I love it. Okay, right, first question is called Coloured Pencil, open brackets, layering, close brackets. In colour pencils, layering tones gradually build up a drawing using several colours. What book had several complex layers to the plot? I think I've recently mentioned this in a book tag video before, but I'm going to go with The Book of the New Sun by Jean Wolfe. I'm only halfway through. The Book of the New Sun is technically made up of 4 books, and they all follow Severian, who is a member of the Torturers Guild, as he goes out into the world. And I've talked about this before, for sure, because this is a book series. Jean Wolfe is famous for having books which involve multiple readings to really be able to make sense of what's going on, but in a good way. So, your first initial reading of this book is it feels very medieval fantasy, and then as you're going through you become aware of the fact that it's actually a dying earth book, insofar as these things which are described with archaic language, you begin to realise he's living in an abandoned spaceship, for example. It's just his living quarters are described, and when you think logically about how this building functions, the only answer is it's an abandoned spaceship, like a rocket. And there are just so many moments like that throughout the book. I have been reading the book whilst listening to the podcast Alzabo Soup, who are absolutely great. They're wonderful. They guested on our podcast. It was the most delightful time. They're absolutely wonderful. They're so intelligent, and they just really help go through chapter by chapter, spoiler free, and unpick and be this is what you might not have picked up on. So it's such an interesting book series, but I am 100% aware that on my first reading I am not picking up everything that's happening, which is wonderful. Question number 2 is charcoal, blending. Blending is done to create smooth transitions between darker and lighter areas of a drawing. What is a book where the light and dark blend to each side? I'm going to go for the Fionavar Tapestry by Guy Geffriel Kay, which is a trilogy of 3 books. The Fionavar Tapestry, amongst its many themes, at its very core, there is this this struggle between light and dark. And this is mild spoilers, but one of our main characters, they come from our world and they go into this world. One of our main characters suffers a horrific sexual assault at the hands of our big evil guy. As a result of this incident, she ends up having a child. Then, as the series goes on and the child grows up, there is this real look at, as the product of one of our people who is meant to represent the most good, the saviors of this world, and then the most evil character in the books, how does this child fit in? And so many people spend this plot trying to get this child to be good or evil or blah, and this is mild spoilers, I'm so sorry, but the mother the whole time is just being neutral, and is just I'm not going to tell you what to do, you have to make this decision, it's not for me to impose on you what I expect you to do, you are your own person, you can make your decisions. And as a result there's this just whole plot line where it's just all based around this child and the decisions this child will make and whether it will lead to good or evil, and this whole thing. So that's really a series where this is this really heavy plot line about looking at blending light and dark. So yeah, I'm sorry if that was a little bit spoilery. The next question is pen and ink, crosshatching. Parallel lines drawn at different angles so that the quantity, thickness and spacing of the lines will create the illusion of volume. What is your favourite book series with the most volumes? Probably the Edge Chronicles, because I love them. They were my big childhood reads. It's just carried on and I've never stopped loving them. They were great. A more contemporary one that's ongoing is the Chronicles of St. Mary. They're getting quite big by now. I think book 9 is the latest one that was released, and they don't show any sign of stopping, which is excellent. And then when watching Brushing Bookends video on this, one of them mentioned about books which you've objectively read the most of the series. And those have got to be Buffy books, because, dear God, as a child I have read so many books that are set in the Buffy universe. You know, like, they're like, I don't know if they're like official, I think they're like all like unofficial, but good God, I probably read like 50 of those as a child. Like, I was obsessed. Highly obsessed. Marker. Permanent. Markers are known for their permanent lines. What is a book that is permanently drawn in your mind? I'm gonna have to go for Harry Potter for this, because I've interpreted this question as like, what is a book that you are so familiar with that it is just permanently etched into your mind and you can just like see it all and relive it all? And that has to be Harry Potter. Like I might have read 50 Buffy books as a child, but I also obsessively reread the Harry Potter series like as if there was no end. So that's just like, so I'm not the only one, obviously. It's etched into all of our souls for eternity, but like that's the obvious go-to. There is no other answer really. Next up is Acrylic Paint, Vibrant. Acrylic Paint is known for its vibrant colours. What is a book with a vibrant cover? I fell in love with this book for the cover. I bought it for the cover, and I'm so glad I did because I loved it for the story, but also 1,000 Nights by E.K. Johnston. Number 1, beautiful. But wait, you open it up, and also more beautiful, and then you remove the dust jacket, and what's this? Oh, only more vibrant beautifulness. So yeah, I entirely fell in love with this because of the cover, and then it ended up being absolutely marvellous, and I'm so glad that I went for it, but it even has like, oh, so beautiful, so beautiful. Moving on, watercolour, wash. Wash is a watercolour technique resulting in a semi-transparent layers of colour. What book had a transparent plot? Okay, I'm going for Thanks for the Memories by Cecilia Ahern. It's the only Cecilia Ahern I've read, and I was like excited because I was like, hey, maybe this is another like frivolous, delightful author. I just got annoyed, and like with hindsight, like it's fine. It's not a bad book, but with hindsight, I got really annoyed because like there's this whole thing where it's like, this woman has a mysterious accident, she receives a blood transfusion, and then she keeps getting these flashes of memories that are not hers. And it's like, why is this happening? And I'm like, because the fucking blood transfusion, that's the only thing that happened before this all happened. You know? And you know when, like, it takes characters too long to get to where you are, and you're just like, okay, can we please move it along? So, like, objectively, the book is fine, and I completely understand people who enjoy the book, and I might have ranted too much when I did my book chat, and I am sorry. But, to me, it was too transparent, and it took too long for the characters to catch up with where we were, and it irked me. Oil paint texture. Oil paints are thick and can keep their shape to help build the illusion of an object with texture. Name a character or creature that you remember vividly because of how well they were described. I'm going with the Knack-Mack Feagles from the Tiffany Aching series, because those little Scottish men, they stayed in my mind, and I love them. And like just the description of them, and the way that their speech is written, it's just, you know what the Knack-Mack Feagles are like. I can imagine the Knack-Mack Feagles in any situation. You put them in, and I will be able to tell you how they are reacting. And they were great. I love them so much. Next question is digital paintings in New Age media. New Age style of art media. What is your favourite new release book? I'm going to go with The Bear and the Nightingale by Catherine Arden because I loved this. I know it's not that new, but The Girl in the Tower, the sequel, was just released and I'll be reading that super duper soon. I loved this book so much. I filmed a review about how much I loved it, but it was so incoherent that I haven't posted it yet. But I read it at Christmas and now it feels too late to post it because I'm talking about Christmas and it's like summer. So, like, might be redoing that review at some point, don't really know. But maybe I'll just do a review when I've read the next one. But, like, loved it. Like, Russian fairy tale, snowy gorgeosity. Yes, yes, yes. Here for it. Penultimate question. Canvas. Blank canvas. Nothing better than a blank canvas to start drawing out your ideas. What book had the best original idea? I feel like I just keep talking about this because I'm obsessed with it. But A Long Way to a Small Angry Planet by Becky Chambers. Great sci-fi ideas. Very Farscape-like. Lovely. Good alien concepts. Haven't seen some of those before. Wasn't that great. To stop sounding like a broken record, I'm also going to talk about Radiance by Catherine N. Valenti, which I am, as of recording, currently reading, which is another sci-fi book. This time, it's set around, like, the 40s. It's just such an interesting concept. Like, this is all about, like, originality, but, like, it's like a sci-fi mystery that is concerned with, like, film, but all of the films are, like, mostly silent films because someone's, like, patented the technology that you use to make, like, talkies. And then it's all like, at this point, like, it's not our 1940s, it's like we're colonized all the planets in our solar system, so like we keep going to different planets, and just like the world building and the concept, and also like the form. I'm gushing, can you tell I'm loving it? It's just told through like, oh, such a mix of like descriptions of recordings that various characters have taken at various points, like scripts. Like, there's this whole plot line which I have to keep reminding myself isn't real because it's a script for a film, but when characters are based on people who are really involved in the mystery, and oh, like, it's just such an interesting like form and concept mix, and I'm just loving it. Finally, paper, scrap paper. Sometimes you just have to scrap a drawing and start anew. What book should have been scrap paper and reworked? Okay, I'm going for Fallen Skies by Philippa Gregory and The Somnambulist by S.E. Fox, because whilst they are probably not objectively that bad, I was promised books about the theatre in like post-World War One slash, and then all I got was like horrible sexual assault, and I just, no, just, it's fine, I understand what the authors were trying to do, it just didn't work for me. My camera is dying so badly. I tag Matt at MCS Books, I tag Leah at Leah's Dudish, and I tag Hannah, the dyslexic reader. I hope you like this. I have to go, because this is about to die, but the questions are down below, and check everyone out, and this was great. Thank you for tagging me. Goodbye.